Reader is Luke Dani Blue. She is a writer, astrologer, and teacher living in the Bay Area. Her work has appeared in Blue Stream and the Stone Slide Corrective. She's been let's try that again. She has been shortlisted for the LSS Unified Literary Contest and received an honorable mention from the Academy of American Poets. She's currently writing a novel about ghosts, golems, and the Midwestern gender bent. She teaches undergraduate creative writing at SMSU.
I love how bios make you sound so important. I'm like, no, that's just kidding. Can you guys hear me all right? Okay. Let me know if I get quiet, because sometimes I get afraid of mics and then I like stand back. So this is a short story, and I think it's going to take exactly 15 minutes to read. And it's called The Invention of History. And I wrote it when I was at this literary conference in Vilnius, Lithuania, staying on the grounds of the old Vilnius ghetto and learning all kinds of contradictory stories about what had actually happened in that region during and leading up to the Holocaust. A fall before. Udel's handsome son sent off in black boots to swing a rifle for Mother Russia. We yearned for him over yeasty dough, the whelp of stray dogs coughing road dust, hay dust, sawdust. 25 years, the order said, but prayer stronger than orders brought him back whole in 9. Leaves turning from gold to red fell behind him like a royal cape. That night, we found Fega's goose broken-necked on the bare earth behind the school. In the morning, field to wood had frozen crystal cold, walking outdoors as stunning as the feeling of just waking when past and future are equally forgotten, and for just a briefness, each of us could be anyone. First winter. The council was a requirement, the first thing we had. Its volunteers, drawn-cheeked young men with early ruined skin. Because of our distrust for conscripts, we spat on their names, ground them into the frosty streets. Council member, we called them, but only when necessary. After the council, boys organized a soccer league, women a trade in bread and other goods. Will the writers, gone ever more secretive and strange, folded parchment into coat linings, buried books alive. I don't remember who thought of a jail, only that we heard the cell walls settling at night. In the baths, dingy water crawled over women's backs, round shoulders flickering in candlelight. Our collective sweat dripped into the pools. The tang of menstruation contained a whole family line, daughter, mother, grandmother, our collective memory. Eyes fixed on the gray water, on nothing. We made chit-chat as women do, while under the surface blood became shuddering, a slick on the tips of the fingers, a fast heat, nothing more. The normal world continued within our walls, but shrunken. The real problem was bodies, which is why some of us became flies and others worms. Still others flattened into paper, learning to fold. 8 families shared a kitchen in what had previously been called closet. We ate potatoes and beets and beans and bread. When there wasn't any, we chewed the insides of our cheeks, pinched beetles from the window frames. Windows made of real glass, frames of molded wood. In spite of everything, we admired the artistry of our first city home. We didn't remember who built the prison, who'd commissioned blueprints, who mortared bricks. Them, we said, In the council's record, it was titled only "That Lamentable Place." The eldest among us, charged with memory, said they'd forced us. There'd been an order, perhaps, a threat, someone shot in the streets. Already we began to forget these simple things. In the time before, though even that was becoming suspect, we didn't require the past to be fixed, and so we're in the habit of inventing from present needs. Bearded men licking wide pink lips gave us history. While cooking or scavenging at the edges of our place, we sang it to each other, teaching ourselves to remember in this new way. Whoever had built the prison, we were glad for it. It gave us a reason to avoid mistakes, and anyway, someone had to go. In history, we remembered the story of Isaac, and we remembered the punishment of the Gomorites, and also how in particular epochs, God required a sacrifice of blood. Second winter. We dreamed of smoke trailing into the gray skies, slept in piles like rats. On Pesach, it was rumored a mother roasted her own child over field potatoes, tried to hang herself. We began to suspect it was true what they said about us, or anyway, the bad apples. We thanked God for the jail he had created, which we could use to root them out. We memorized history and our recitations improved. We recalled how for centuries they had done this to us, the swindlers, baby killers, horned devils, our imposter brethren. We remembered Yudil's son, the glaze in his eyes when he returned from Ukraine, his breath stinking and skin yellowed, rotten in places, earth running like blood beneath his boots. Among our numbers slithered tens of these sons, then 100. Even at night, we watched for them. In the women's baths, we stripped naked and crowded close. The big women had shrunk, but the skinnies were the same, all hard angles and stretched laughter. Their long necks wound with tendons, their spines notched like time's measuring tape, and when our bones came together, we made a sound like a neighbor knocking on a faraway door, nobody answering. I recognized the sound, a door for my dreams, bronze handle curled against varnished wood. In the night, a fist collided with that door, pounding some of us from our beds, others into the wall's gutted hollow. The apartment became clearer after that, more room to cook, and you could get decent sleep when it wasn't too cold. A woman college graduate recited a play about whining gods ravenous for ash. No one laughed at the Greek jokes. We were fathoming our Lord's appetite. In the jail, people multiplied, then disappeared. Weight slid from our shoulders. We floated over the streets instead of plodding. A man famous for kindness to the demented was arrested for vagrancy. He'd fallen asleep on the yeshiva courtyard's sun-warmed stones. Fortunately, the Rebbe found him before anyone could trip, break some part of themselves. That afternoon, I breathed crisp spring as they dragged him by, hands covering his face, maybe weeping or maybe asleep. The sky rumbled, and I forgot to watch where they took him. Perhaps he folded himself into wings. Later, I recalled a story about this, how, in dire circumstance, God saves his chosen. Later that night, it poured rain. Our impression of history was improving, and the teacher praised us. We knew the territories of Europe, the dates of the Inquisition, world leaders of 1902. We no longer remembered if there had been a time before we lived together here in our empty rooms, or the names of those who'd left. So the teacher taught us that too, about the numbers of fires we'd suffered, the beatings, the rapes, the death of the firstborn. Have we always been here? One of our men asked. No, said the teacher, but everywhere has been identical. The same rules, the familiar spices, the same steps to the old rituals. Even soccer is played according to tradition. We looked out the window at the boys and girls like fallen hawklings, pounding the ball with their feet. They circled in dust storms that drew figures on the glass. Will we ever escape? Asked the man. God made the universe as a linked passage of rooms, said the teacher. Leave one and another awaits, then another, then another. But they all contain the same furniture. Our place grew enormous. We stretched our arms, waved our wrists in circles to test the boundaries. They did not give. One of the bathing women's hair stunk like gunpowder. I pulled her close, making the chilly water heave. We've stockpiled arms. We're only waiting for you, she whispered. Who's we? Some of us, I can't say. To what end, I asked. Freedom, she said, to how it was before. Beneath us, the earth's wet flesh shook. Before, I thought and remembered Babylon, a map of world war, a chalky smear. Before, I thought and remembered everything. In history, we learned the future. It was the same. We learned time was static. The teacher pointed at a blinking map of our place, its walls, its trampled courtyards, the blank faces of its 3-story buildings, their mazes of flats. The map dotted with red and blue. Us, said the teacher, pointing his bruised nail at a blue dot. Where is history? Asked someone. The teacher shrugged, rolled a wrist. Outside. When they wriggled to the surface, hard lines folded into jackets, I recognized her immediately. That one, I said, pointing, refusing to turn away. Swiftly, 4 councilmen were upon her, holding her to the stones. Her hair, it looked different in the day, a cyclone of curls, fanned out under their knees. The other worms bared their rifles. They pressed the barrels to our ribs, told us we deserved the death we had coming. All time is this one room, I shouted, making myself hoarse. The only future is the one laying behind. I thought of the woman's moon shoulders strung pink from someone's nails, the taste of salt on someone's tongue, great shockwaves moving upward through the water as a name rang out against the wooden walls out into the blood-black sky. She was singing. I was singing. They're gone, said the others. I'd been calling to no one. In fact, I was in the kitchen, my breath hissing, mimicking steam. Later, I learned they'd taken her to jail, and even later that she'd never existed. She had no name, no place of birth, no living descendant. She did not appear blinking on the map. I was only grateful the jail had always been there, that we had a soccer team even if no teammates, a kitchen for our matzah, a classroom, more space every day. We were rich. Now I'd seen us on the map. I knew we'd be there forever.